Today's podcast is about the renovations needed for the emergency room at Mercy One Newton and the gala coming up on the 26th of this month in an effort to raise more money for the renovations at the emergency room at Mercy One Newton. First, a word from our sponsors, including Ryan's Tire and Auto on First Avenue, Newton. They take pride in delivering more than just tires and vehicle maintenance. They provide an unwavering commitment to great service every time. As a locally owned and operated small business, they understand the importance of building lasting relationships with their valued customers. Their team of dedicated professionals is passionate about automobiles and committed to going the extra mile for you at Ryan's Tire and Auto on First Avenue, Newton. Also by Newton Clinic. Newton Clinic and their doctors are here to serve you. They do a great job there at Newton Clinic. In fact, they have a brand new doctor coming in the middle of the month. And they also have a doctor on hand to book a same-day appointment. At Newton Clinic, they offer same-day appointments to ensure you received timely medical attention when you need it most. Call or text and schedule your appointment at 641-792-2112, 641-792-2112 at Newton Clinic. Also sponsored by the fine folks at Willowbrook on the Park Center campus. Make sure your loved one's day is even better by enrolling them in Willowbrook, a Wesley Life Adult Day Center. Willowbrook on the Park Center campus provides a welcoming and stimulating environment that allows participants to maintain independence while receiving support and encouragement. Social engagement, companionship, and enriching opportunities are provided to give participants a purposeful and fulfilling day. Willowbrook's person-centered care includes exercise focused on total health and well-being and programming that includes music therapy, pet therapy, guest speakers, outings, and much more. If you'd like to learn more about Willowbrook, give them a call at 641-791-4500 to arrange a tour. It's time for another Out and About with Jamie Grout, and with me today is Chad Kelly, who is administrator at Mercy One Newton, and Chloe Jenkins, who is
the Foundation and Mission Manager
at Mercy One Newton also. And Chad, I just want to give you some props and kudos because you gave a presentation here a couple weeks ago at the Newton Rotary Club, which really enlightened me in terms of the need for refurbishment in the emergency room at Mercy One Newton. And boy, I'll tell you, it really does need some renovating. And tell our listeners today why it is so important to our community.
Yeah, so thank you for attending that and for your kind words. Well, an emergency department obviously is vital to any rural county, first and foremost. Hopefully all of them have at least one somewhere in the county. We happen to be privileged here in Newton to have our medical center, which has our emergency department in it. So, you know, just in terms of being there when time is of the essence for a community our size and a county our size, last I checked, we were about the 17th largest county in Iowa. So we serve, just north of 37,000 residents in our primary service area. And so definitely need to have an ED. And, from the presentation at the Rotary Club that we had the privilege to share more detail about the project, we're getting to the point here this April 26th, we host our hospital's gala. And that really sets the stage. We're going to go into a more public phase of our ED campaign. But, in summary, essentially the department was last renovated or updated in 1994. So it's been 3 decades. And you can imagine in that time, a lot of things change and requirements, regulatory requirements, compliance, but also patient experience and what, the standard of care should be for services. And so, the goal is to make a lot of improvements. We're proud of the care we offer, that our doctors and physicians and staff, but we do recognize that we want a more state-of-the-art department so that we can have a better environment for that care.
So, Chad, what kind of challenges does the emergency department face right now?
Yeah, so, I think first and foremost, the campaign idea started back in 2019. So we're going to go back 5 or 6 years, but it was really before the pandemic even started. And some of the challenges, and I don't know necessarily if I would call this a challenge, but really I think what prioritized the need to kick off this project was we had seen around a 22 to 25% increase in the amount of behavioral health visits that were coming through our ED, whether court ordered or voluntary, and the amount of time spent caring for those having a mental health visit or a behavioral health visit, and just realizing, the inadequacy of the environment in terms of caring for that patient population. So I think the general public may not really realize or understand how much we do care for behavioral health or mental health crises patients, and it's only becoming, unfortunately, more prevalent in today's age, in the world of social media and more interactions and, I think just some challenges out there in any community. And so that really was the challenge that kick-started this, was to do a better job caring for that patient population.
And the exam rooms aren't particularly large, and I'm just wondering, how does that impact the staff workflow in the emergency room?
Yeah, correct. So they are not large. They're more of your typical physician exam room, which equipment has gotten larger and more robust and more specialized over the years. And so, it does impact to the point where, at times, if a patient is needing to have a code for a cardiac arrest, we have to wheel that outside into the corridor or the hallway, so to speak, to allow enough staff around that bed and to get the different equipment like the Lucas device and everything situated to care for that individual. So, sometimes we have to create more room, which happens to be outside of the exam room. And unfortunately too, from the staff perspective, we would love to sometimes allow more families to be present with their loved one while they're getting cared for in the ED, but the rooms are so small that, it really only has a place for about one chair for a family member to join their loved one. And so, it impacts the staff because they often have to be the bearer of bad news that not everybody can fit in the exam room, and have to ask some of the family members to maybe wait in the waiting room. So, in that regard, to answer the question, I guess they'll have more space, almost double the space that they have now, to fit equipment inside the room, to care for the patient more adequately, to actually be able to put a stretcher alongside the bed to transfer a patient. EMS currently can't transfer them within the room. We have to do bed-to-bed or bed-to-stretcher transfers out in the corridor as well.
Okay. So, for those who don't know, including myself, what the heck is a Lucas device?
Yeah, so it's basically a chest compression device that assists with CPR.
Okay. Now tell us about the current location of the physician and nurses station. Now, is that something that would be changed in the remodel?
Yeah, so the location is technically rather central in the department now, but the visibility does not allow for them to care for patients with centralized nurse station where they can see the entire environment. So currently, about 4 of the exam rooms sit behind the nurse station, which is blocked off by a wall. So they lose visibility of, that who's coming, who's going, or if a patient has needs. So, really the centralized nurse station is really the standard of care now. So it's central within the department, but it's also, the visibility is not disrupted.
I see.
So they can actually see the door of each room, who's coming and going, and they can see into the trauma bays and literally have eyes on all patients at all times for safety purposes. So that is what we would change, and give a larger nurse station as well.
Well, and Chad, you talked about behavioral health and how important that is. Can you explain the importance of having exam spaces specifically designed for behavioral health patients? Because it is so very important these days, and maybe back years ago when it was renovated before, it wasn't seen as quite so important as what it is now.
I would completely agree. So in terms of equipping a room specific for a behavioral health dedicated space. I would say what we look for is to create niche cubbies inside of the room where equipment with ropes or wires, anything that may have some type of a cord on it, when the nurses aren't caring for the patient, we need to make sure we put those away. So it's a ligature-free environment that they can't harm themselves.
I see.
So instead of pulling all of that equipment out into the hallway every single time, it allows it to stay in the room, but we can sort of lock the equipment inside of the room or protect the patient from having access to things that they may hurt themselves with.
Okay, and can you explain what negative pressure rooms are and what Mercy One Newton's current setup is to meet this need?
Yeah, so a negative pressure room is basically, you can imagine a vent in the ceiling, and it is suctioning out the air from the room. So there are certain conditions, COVID-19 being one of them, where that pathogen travels through the air. It's an airborne pathogen. And so, we learned during the pandemic how nice it would have been to have had a negative pressure room inside of the emergency department as we were seeing an influx of COVID-19 patients.
Okay.
And so we do have 2 negative pressure rooms up on our medical surgical floor on the 2nd floor, but not within the ED, and not really where at that point of care where patients are coming in ill, and we're trying to contain that pathogen from exposing other people. So really, again, the standard of care is to have 1 to 2 negative pressure rooms available directly in your emergency department for conditions such as that.
All right. Chloe, I think I could turn to you for the next question. This year's gala is tied to the emergency department campaign. Can you tell us more about the event and how people can take part?
Yeah. So there are ticket purchases still available online on Facebook. There's a ticket link in the event. You can also purchase your tickets here at the Mercy One Newton gift shop. There is a place that you can sign up, so you can put all your information down that I need. I'll need your address, phone number, email. You can leave your check there, then I'll make sure I grab it. And then after that, your tickets will be sent to you via mail.
Can you tease us a little bit with some of the auction items that are available?
Yeah, put me on the spot. One that I just was looking at today that I'm probably going to bid on myself, we have a Galena package. So it's a midweek bed and breakfast stay at the DeSoto House in Galena, Illinois. And then we threw in a $50 Casey's gift card with that as well. So a little Galena getaway package.
And I know you have a Terry Bradshaw autographed football.
We do.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, and we looked it up ourselves. It's valued at $500.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it would be valued at that much, but because it's a Wilson one and it is a vintage football and it has Terry Bradshaw's autograph on it with his number, it is worth more.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth that much. How has the response been from the community and local businesses so far for the gala? And what is your financial goal and how much has been raised so far?
I can touch on the gala perspective. We have a lot of different community members and businesses who support the gala every year, and same this year. We have 32 sponsorships this year from local businesses that still continue to support the hospital in that way, so that's very exciting. And after this year, I'm hoping we can get more. Once we can get the word out more about the ED Capital campaign and the gala, the more the merrier.
And you have not only a live and silent auction, but a dessert auction too.
So we do have some dessert auctions. I was just finalizing all of them today, getting everyone's dessert names in. A couple of ones that I'm looking forward to personally is someone's making a s'mores chocolate cake.
Ooh.
So that sounds delicious. And then our nutrition services also have been hard at work thinking about what they're going to donate, and they're going to do a red velvet cake and a pink lemonade cake. It sounds interesting but good. Something new to add to the list. But we have a lot of different community members and businesses who have been very generous with their dessert auction donations. So we're thankful for that.
Now you're doing a wine toss. What's that all about?
So basically the wine toss is you pay $20 when you check in to play the wine toss game. So you go to the wine toss table, and all the wine is covered in wine bags, so you can't see what kind of wine it is. So you're taking a chance and you're throwing a ring on one of the wine bottles, and then whatever ring it lands on, you get to take that wine home with you.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, we have some very good wine choices.
And thanks for asking me to be the auctioneer.
Yeah.
And, my pal Mark Allen will be the MC and will be my ring man too, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. Chad, I want to get back to you too. And one of the things that you mentioned when you gave your presentation to the Rotary Club, that, man, I'll tell you, the triage area for the emergency room is actually the lobby for the emergency room.
Yeah, we would prefer that we could renovate that space and make the waiting room larger. And so as the department has grown, I'm sure 30 years ago in 1994, the triage room probably started in the department. But as the years went on and the volumes, the visit numbers, we serve around now between 9,500 and 10,000 visits a year. And so I think, as the community has grown, they probably needed that exam room within the department. And so it currently does sort of lie outside of the department. So we would also love to have that inside the department as well.
Well, and Chloe knows this story because when we did a podcast together, I gave my own experience with the emergency room. And this was probably about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. When I was working at the radio station, my partner on the morning show, she's a former LPN, I guess maybe still an LPN, I don't know. But I came in and I was just feeling kind of weird, just not right. And I don't know why. I was just maybe a little lightheaded or something. And she said, you should go to the emergency room. So probably stupidity. I just drove myself to the emergency room. I probably should have had somebody drive me, but I went to the emergency room. And the lady at the emergency room said, what's wrong? And I said, I don't know. I just feel kind of strange. And so they sent me back, and the emergency room doctor took one of those pen lights, and I was following it back and forth, back and forth. It turns out I had a seizure.
Wow.
I had a seizure. And so I don't remember anything after that. And either they called my significant other or somebody from the radio station called my significant other and came up. I don't even remember it. They sent me to have a CAT scan. And next thing I know, I'm up in a room. And they're giving me, they're getting me hydrated. And I was there for a day. I think it turned out that it was Juneteenth that I had taken the day off. I mowed the lawn and I was dehydrated. And then for 6 months, I couldn't drive after that. And I went to a neurologist and I had an EEG and, they checked me out and everything. And after 6 months, I was okay. But I had great care in the emergency room. They took fantastic, like I say, great care and did everything they could to make sure that I was just fine. I was very impressed by them. And they contacted everybody that they could. And so, it was just fantastic. And so I can't give them enough props and kudos. And they do the best they can with what they have to work with, Chad. And I've heard this from several different people, including Craig Armstrong, who was sitting, I think, at our table,
Correct,
too,
yep.
at Rotary. So I just, it needs a lot of renovations and work, but I just know that they do everything that they can. So it needs a lot of renovations, but for heaven's sakes, come on out on the 26th of this month and help support the renovations in the emergency room. And I want to ask, what is your timeline for these renovations, if and when you reach your goal for the financials on this, Chad?
So we would like to begin construction mid to later 2026. We've actually already started with some relocating of our gift shop, which is happening right now and will be completed in the next 2 to 3 months so that creates space for the expansion. So we've actually already started some of these phases, and we would hope to have, a project this size can go anywhere from 12 to 16 months, probably a year-long renovation. But again, to your point, the space needs to be touched. We've been very fortunate the last couple of years. We've invested in new technology, a new CT scanner. We're just finishing up installing a new MRI unit. So, I think that next, having the actual environment of the emergency space renovated is, been on our agenda for some time. So we're excited.
How can people contribute to get involved in the campaign, Chad?
Great question. So if you went to our webpage, we actually will have a landing page where you could contribute to the ED campaign after we go live here in April with our public phase. You can always just call or email the hospital, get in touch with myself or with Chloe Jenkins, our foundation mission manager. We'll soon be kicking off with a Facebook. You can check our Facebook page. That will have access to the link to donate. But I do want to just mention too, with the gala coming up, and just we have had awesome community support, and we have for years. And just the businesses in town really do step up and show support for the hospital. And so just want to say thank you to all of those businesses that, for years have come to this event, sponsored it, and to the new ones. We've had a lot of new businesses, which is exciting, that they want to be a part of this event and to support a nonprofit inside of our community and county that really does serve a great purpose, not only, as an economic driver, but also when you wake up and you're feeling strange, and just to be grateful that you have an ED close that you just never know and when you need it, and we just shouldn't take it for granted.
You bet. Well, before we wrap this up, Chad, do you have a final message to people who are considering donating?
Yeah, my final message is, transparently, and I just always try to be honest with the staff and our committee. This is going to take community effort to get us to the finish line. And so far we can share, we've raised $2.8 million by going out and doing our what we call private funding phase. So we're over halfway, and now we're at the point where we are going to need individuals. First and foremost is that, this is something that if the community values having this, a project this size, we do need help. So Mercy One, has contributed $1.2 million towards it. We've got some other fantastic donors that will share proudly at the gala, but it's going to take some help from the community. And I think lastly is just everybody can contribute in some other way. So every dollar counts, whether it's a large contribution or a not so large contribution. We care more about, we want the community's help, and there's strength in numbers is what I would say. Is just, you may know somebody, or maybe it's you and you can't give what you would like to, but if you can give anything, that'll help us get to our goal.
You bet. Chloe, just to put some icing on the cake, give us the final deets on the gala coming up on the 26th of this month.
Yes, the gala is on Saturday, April 26th at the DMACC Conference Center. Cocktail hour starts at 5:30 p.m. The program will start at 7 o'clock, and that's about it. It'll be a fun-filled evening.
Come on by. Let's raise lots of money for the emergency room at Mercy One Newton. Our interview guests have been Chloe Jenkins and Chad Kelly, administrator at Mercy One. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Out and About with Jamie Grout. This podcast also sponsored by Lynette Baker, Halo Branded Solutions, Westside Java Coffee Bar, Jersey Freeze in Monroe, and Advantage Credit Union.
If you've been fouled by your financial institution, then blow the whistle. This is Coach Miles from Advantage Credit Union with some one-on-one for a financial victory. At ACU, you're treated like you own the team because you actually do. Advantage Credit Union offers great deposit rates. You actually earn interest instead of paying a monthly fee at you know where.
Make shot, good!
If you live or work in Jasper County or 18 other central Iowa counties, you are eligible to join. Visit us in downtown Newton or online at acuiowa.org. It's a game winner at ACU.
Member NCUA.
Until next time, out is out. See ya.